I'm going to go ahead and talk about a old breakdown incident I had back with my CBR 250. This was in early 2019. It just still pisses me off thinking about it, how people perceived what they thought was happening and what was actually happening. So, previously, anytime I take the carbs out, this bike had carbs out a few times, much less than my VFR 400. But this bike had the carbs out a few times, and at some point the fuel line got kinked, and I had intermittent fuel starvation problems, which were difficult to diagnose because I even had some going downhill without throttle, just coasting. So that threw me off for a while, but I eventually figured out that it was a fuel supply problem, and I could fix that by routing the fuel line correctly. So I already knew how running out of fuel felt, so we're going to go ahead and play the video. Just pay attention how the engine sounds. This is on the original fuel pump as far as I could tell. It was over 30 years old, 31 years old at the time. Okay, right around here I'm noticing a problem. I'm having to use more throttle than usual. The engine sound hasn't changed yet, but when I revved it up there, it didn't rev right.
Something's up.
You hear me say something's going wrong.
Something's going wrong.
Talking to my dad over a Senna.
Not like this.
So now cylinders are starting to cut out.
Well, I mean, it's
No
still
power.
sort of working, but it's gone. Well, I don't know, coast.
Here I'm trying to restart it again. Not working. So we were traveling with a group of 3 motorcycles in one car. That is my mom coming up behind me in the car. She's got her hazards on.
I don't know, but it's not running anymore. Like it was running out of fuel.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah,
Correct.
you heard.
Ish. Here she's backing up to give people behind us a little more warning.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Did you get it started?
Not yet.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't
Yes.
start. So of course this breakdown had to happen on a road, dark, middle of nowhere, and pull-offs are, every mile, half mile. So this pull-off here wasn't really big enough to
I love
park.
carburetors.
I don't love carburetors. Fucking hate carburetors. That car passing my mom right now, that was my brother. He didn't realize it at the time. He processed that there was bikes and a car stopped, but he overlooked that and just kept driving. He didn't realize it was us.
Because Mom told me to.
So this problem was not directly related to carburetors, but it was indirectly related, seeing as how the fuel lines in a fuel-injected bike are usually hard lines, and then they have a nice big braided line for the main fuel supply. On carbureted bikes, that's not the case. It's usually just rubber hoses. So taking on and off the carbs, you can shift the fuel line around and then have problems. At this point, I'm not really trying to start it. I'm just trying to keep oil circulating because the transmission's pressure lubricated, not
Well, then
splash.
switch. I'll push you.
So when the engine's off, it doesn't lubricate.
Hold on, I can't hear you, right?
Chaos.
We just gotta get it so we can pull off. Just get your foot up and out of the way.
Are you pushing?
Not yet, I'm trying to get there. Just don't do anything. Go straight.
Just push on my back.
No. Foot peck's the way to do it.
This is gonna ruin my weekend.
It didn't, thankfully.
Well, there's a pull off here. Sort of.
And that's the pull off that we stop at, right up ahead.
Get in here.
Yep.
I'll stay here with you and I'll go up the hunt and get somebody to come tow it.
Okay.
Alright?
Yeah. It was doing the same thing that happened when it had the fuel line constriction.
Well, it's not like you can do anything on the side of the road, but
Well, actually, I could pull the fuel line to unconstrict it, but I tried that and it didn't work on this.
There, that's where the video ends. In total, I ended up waiting about 3 hours, which was it was a long 3 hours, waiting for them to come back with the trailer. Because thankfully, some of the guys up at the motorcycle camp up there did have a trailer and an extra bike too, which I'll talk about later. In those 3 hours, I think within the first hour, that was when the cops came. You know, I thought they were just stopping to check out and see what's going on. It's like, you know, they're asking. I would think they were going to ask, "Do you need a tow or do you need help or anything?" Oh boy, was I wrong. So I didn't bother turning on the camera because I didn't think it'd be anything really. But that's not the case. So the cop came up. He slowed down when he saw the bike. He was coming the opposite direction, I want to say, and he turned his lights on. I think he stopped in the middle of the road there. Wait a few seconds for him to come out. And I do remember when he pulled up, I got out of the car and I just like stood there, which is a bad move, but you know, as it was happening, you know, I was waiting for him to come out, and then he didn't. He eventually did, so I stood up and stood out of the car. In the interest of not getting shot, I chose to stay still. I did have a gun in my pocket at the time, by the way. And he comes out, and the first thing he says is, "You know, we've been getting reports of motorcycles stopping traffic and drag racing." So my mom she's like, you know, trying to correct him and saying, "Oh, well, no, actually we're," and then he cuts her off again, and he's like, "Will you let me finish?" And this like asshole cuntbag government employee attitude. He had a pissy attitude immediately. He never actually checked our license, or my license really, or anything, I think. He just kind of came up and vented at us because he realized he had literally nothing on us. So the cop pretty much, he just vented his anger at, you know, not being able to ticket me or throw me in jail or whatever for street racing or whatever the fuck he thought I was actually doing. But, Yeah, someone that passed me while I was breaking down and broken down in between, what was it? Let's see how many seconds that was. From stop to so basically 3.5 minutes. No, 4.5 minutes. In that 4.5 minutes of from coming to a stop to getting to the pull-off area, some golden citizen decided to call the police on us for what they thought was motorcycle stopping traffic and drag racing, when it was actually just someone having a shitty weekend who broke down, and you just made it worse. Fuck you. Fuck you, cunt. Anyways, 3 hours later from breaking down, finally got rescued. Thank you, Alph, for being awesome, having a trailer, and actually, I think he supplied me with the bike too. But yeah, that was awesome. Got to try out a DRZ 400S, Teleco Plains, Cherhall Skyway, Deals Gap. That was amazing. That was so much fun. Supermotos are crazy fun. Even though they have, boring single-cylinder engines, they're so tall and light. The soft suspension, you just throw it into a corner and you feel yourself like drop a whole foot when you're turning. It's awesome. It's great. This whole situation just pisses me off. It's full of people making assumptions that are blatantly false. From the beginning, when I broke down, that 4.5 minutes when someone passing by decided to call the police on me, as we're pushing the bike along, no one's doing a burnout, no one's revving their engines, there's no horns honking, no one's getting the race tuck, hugging the front wheel, drag race position or anything. No, we're just sitting there trying to not get run over, trying to figure out what's going wrong, and there was no reason that they should have assumed that any drag racing or traffic stopping was happening. We only took up one lane at a time. Our chase car behind us was blocking traffic, so we didn't get run over. And by the way, my mom was driving, so, when that police officer went and accused me, do you go street drag racing with your mom following behind you? No, you don't. Your mom's not going to tolerate that shit. And, if I was street racing and then I did happen to break down, which, one of those things happened, I would have hid the bike and myself. There was a gate and a little path off to the side, right where we came to a stop, where I could have, hid, but why would I? I was just waiting for a trailer to rescue my broken bike. And, no, we sat there on the shoulder with hazards on, which is, pretty high profile, not hiding like someone who's racing would be doing. But the fucking cop still assumed, some retard called in something that they thought they saw, which was actually false. So let's just assume that they're telling the truth. And instead of trying to figure out the actual situation, let's just go in, metaphorically, guns blazing, and just, vent at these people for existing. So the problem was a failed fuel pump. It was the original 31-year-old fuel pump at the time. Went ahead and bought a new fuel pump, but it was a cheap one, and surprise, surprise, that one broke too. Not very long after. And after that, we finally ponied up and actually bought something worth buying, and I think it was like a $60 fuel pump, and it's still working to this day, thankfully. So no more fueling drama, please. I will note one thing, as the bike was broken down, I waiting at the pull-off, every few minutes, I would go out and try to start it again for a little bit, and if the bike had been sitting for like 3 minutes or more, it would run for a few seconds before dying. So that was the fuel leaking past the seized fuel pump. I think it was seized. I never really figured it out. I've just replaced it. So after a certain amount of time, fuel would leak past, and it would run a little bit again, and then it would die. So if you ever have these symptoms, then
you know where to look.
Yeah, that's my breakdown and police experience there. I hope I don't have another one.